and swipe at people wearing these clothes every day on short video apps. You think it should be trendy, and you stop making a big deal out of it. Tang Shishir, your mother learns that this seed is going to help her heal? How can she be so enthusiastic? In the transmission, the woman's tone seemed a bit confused. Chu Feng, no. It's just that they think of you as a imfriend that very curious about. By the way, Auntie calls you Psyche. Is it because you don't like durian? Pops and Mom looked strange when they saw the plate they had handed over and she was indifferent. After all, a girl should know how to be polite. Even if she doesn't like the food she has to say thank you. Now instead she's moving around like a demented child. Take it and say thank you. This seed has never said such a thing to anyone. Don't give me an inch. Tang Shishir struggled to reply. She had never said anything like thank you to anyone before. Seeing that things were not going well, Chu Feng hurriedly sat down beside this woman, picked up a piece of durian meat and fed it to Tang Shishir's red lips. Ask for a catch-up read and a reward. Ask for a monthly ticket. Turn the page, please. End of chapter. Chapter 29, The Life of Tang Shishir, Request for Catch-Up Reading. Chapter 29, The Life of Tang Shishir, Request for Catch-Up Reading. Sissy Tang, smelling that odor between her nostrils, she glared angrily at Chu Feng. It doesn't smell too good, but it definitely tastes good. Don't believe me? Try it. Chu Feng naturally also saw her expression that was itching to cut herself to death, and could only immediately transmit his voiceover. Is this guy not swindling himself? Tang Shishir reached out and took the piece of durian meat, subconsciously licking the residual sweetness from her lips. Suddenly I realized, the flavor seems good? And at that moment, several pairs of eyes in the house were on her. Why don't you take a bite and taste it? This idea popped up in Tang Shishir's mind, because means like poisoning would not work at all on her. There was only the difference between hard to eat and delicious. After wrestling with it for a good 10 seconds, she made up her mind to take a small bite of the durian flesh. Originally, when it first reached her mouth, the unpleasant smell made her collapse, but as soon as it entered her mouth, it was soft and sticky, and it was quite tasty. There were countless exotic flowers and fruits on the immortal and demon continent, but they had never seen this kind of fruit that smelled bad and tasted good. After swallowing the first bite, Tang Shishir grabbed the rest of the durian meat and continued to take a bite, a subtle touch of pleasure spreading across her face. Goo, so this girl is shy. Mom took one look at her odd expression and was amused. Thanks. Tang Shishir will be in the hands of a large piece of durian meat eaten. Look at this family happy atmosphere. Suddenly feel a trace of affinity. Even unprecedentedly said thank you 2 words. With this scene, Chu Feng was actually quite shocked. Or perhaps it touched a softer side of this woman's heart. Here, have a few more pieces and tell Auntie if you want some later. With a happy face, Mom brought all the plates of durian meat on the table to Tang Shishir, as if she was afraid of starving him. Ah, good. Looking at the warm-hearted this middle girl woman, Tang Shishir was suddenly a bit at a loss for words. The majesty and ruthlessness of the past had unexpectedly disappeared without a trace at this moment. One even wondered if he had some kind of disease. Why his mood changed so much after coming to this realm. She suddenly remembered her own miserable life. Although she was born in the human race, she ended up becoming the leader of the devil's path. It was really ridiculous. Looking at the plate of durians in his hands, he listened to the sound of several people talking and laughing in the living room. Tang Shishir's brows suddenly had a trace of sadness between them. She recalled her own unpleasant and broken family. Countless years had long passed since these events, and the memory was fading. But after experiencing this ray of warmth, those fuzzy memories came flooding back to her mind. Scene by scene. Originally born in an unremarkable village of the human race, she was the 5th in line at home, with 3 older brothers and an older sister in front of her. Because of worldly reasons, daughters are unpopular in the village, and they believe that only men can stand alone and support a family, and women just need to stay at home and raise their children and live the rest of their lives. There has even been a case where a father dropped his daughter to her death on the spot because the family had 3 daughters in a row. Tang Shishir grew up in such an environment, with no parental love, having to let her brothers have food first, and having to do farm work at the age of 5. Inside her ignorant perception at the time, the only person who was good to her was her sister. This was the way things were going until one day a group of robbers came to the village and looted it. In a panic, my mother and father actually pushed my 3 older brothers in a wooden wagon, the reason being that they could save a little food on the way. Tang Shishir still remembers her father's words. 2 daughters are not as useful as 3 boys, so it's better to save some grain. At that time, in the era of war and chaos, this sentence was indeed true in the eyes of many people, but it was also this sentence that made Tang Shishir deeply remembered for 10,000 years, coupled with the fact that later on, her sister died in order to protect her. At the tender age of 6, Tang Shishir made a vow in her heart. She wanted to prove it, to prove her mother and father wrong, to prove the world wrong. Why should women be abandoned? Why should women have to accept the world's eyes? Why must women be inferior to men? Later, after losing her sister's care, the young girl wandered off without knowing where she was going and met a demonic cultivator, her master. From a young age, this master had taught her how ruthless and desperate she should be, and that she should not be held back by the world, so that she could go to the top of the world. It's a phrase that Tang Shishir has memorized for 10,000 years. Also in such a state, 10,000 years rushed by, behind them tired up the white bones, thousands of resentful souls, growing from killing, finally became the supreme of the devil's way. But it was the years of loneliness that accompanied her, too. At the end of the day, there wasn't even one person to talk to. What's the matter? Did Auntie say something wrong? Seeing Tang Shishir's forlorn look, her mom sat down beside her and inquired in a kind tone. No. Tang Shishir quickly slowed down, sweeping away all those complicated emotions she had just felt, a faint smile reappearing on her face. For some reason, I felt some warmth in my heart when talking to these people. That's fine. Don't eat too much durian now. Auntie made you a lot of good food in the evening. You must eat more. Mom replied happily, and after a few more natters she turned to the kitchen, while Pops was on the sidelines swiping short videos. He was a big man. Naturally he didn't have much to say to Tang Shishir. It was almost 5 o'clock, and because of the approaching winter, the sky outside was already a little dull. Chu Feng called out to Tang Shishir and then called her out of the courtyard outside. I just saw you had a weird look on your face. Did my mom upset you? Don't take that to heart. That's how the older generation is. They like to nag. Chu Feng was afraid that this woman would do something outrageous and could only take precautions in advance. Did I say I was upset? Tang Shishir gave him a cold look and replied in a faint voice. That's fine. But when are you going to heal my mom? Mother? Chu Feng pinched a cold sweat and changed the topic. Healing? She raised an eyebrow and muttered to herself. I thought you said my mother was terminally ill. Seeing this woman pretending to be confused, Chu Feng became anxious. Tang Shishir pretended to think for a while, and the corner of her mouth slightly hooked into a devious smile. Oh yeah, I remember. But this thing just got done. When Chu Feng heard those words, his heart froze and he was surprised. But this, just had a look at it. Your mother has a disease that I seem to remember calling bit cancer in your realm, and her health is at a very dismal level as well. Hearing that, Chu Feng's heart trembled. Without waiting for him to reply, he heard Tang Shishir continue. When your mother sat over just now, I had already remodeled her body inside, and that so-called disease no longer existed. For treating a mortal, Tang Shishir didn't even need to use pills and spirit herbs. After all, the difference between the physique of a cultivator and a mortal was very large. Ask for recommendations. Please ask for rewards. Ask for monthly tickets. Only one more today. We'll make up for it later. Turn the page, please. End of chapter. Chapter 30A bed. Chapter 30A bed. After hearing his Tang Shishir's words, Chu Feng's hanging heart finally landed. A smile then appeared on his face as he said, in any case, thank you. It's not your turn to be thanked. I heard your mother say that she has made many delicacies to entertain this seat tonight, so consider herself thanked. A long-lost light smile also surfaced on Tang Shishir's face. After being alone for 10,000 years, one suddenly realized that this feeling of being cared for was quite good. Brother, why did you run out? Right at that moment, Chu Chunyu, who was still sitting in the living room watching TV, suddenly walked out, bumbled over to Chu Feng, and pulled his hand. Well, a secret to your future sister-in-law. Chu Feng's eyes rolled back in his head and he smiled snidely, directly drawing Tang Shishir's angry glare. What's the secret? I want to hear it too, Tatsuki's milky voice inquired, and hearing it made the heart melt in adornment. Sissy Tang, is this your sister? Just as Chu Feng wanted to reply, Tang Shishir's voice transmission suddenly resounded in his mind. Looking up, she saw that the woman was gazing down at Tatsuki, her eyes flashing. Chu Feng, how should I put it? Consider it my sister. Tang Shishir, this girl is a heavenly spirit root. Can't you see that? After hearing the woman's words, Chu Feng froze. He had never thought that Chunyu would be a heavenly spirit root. That was a genius that would not be found for 100 years. It is a pity that he was born in this era of lack of aura. If he was placed on the immortal and demon continent, he would definitely be the existence of all the major forces competing for him. Chu Feng, so what if I see it? This realm's spiritual energy is so thin that it won't accomplish much in the end, so it would be better to let her live out her life in peace and quiet. When Tang Shishir heard this, she naturally felt sorry. If the aura of this realm had always been so thin, then she wouldn't be able to perform great magical powers to break the void again and return to the immortal and demon continent. Nowadays, they can only take one step at a time and recover from their previous injuries first. Then he would join Chu Feng in searching for the opportunity to break through to Immortal Emperor. Just as they were talking in the yard, Mom's voice came from inside the house, telling them to go back to dinner. A dinner down. Chu Feng found that this woman's appetite is really not small. Even ate 4 bowls of rice, not to mention. Also ate half a steamed chicken and a caddy of prawns and so on. This made the family look dumbfounded, thinking that this future daughter-in-law, who is tall and thin, is so capable of eating. By the end of the night, Mom had also naturally cleaned out a room for the two. But there was only a bed, not even a couch. I'll sleep on the bed. You're going to meditate and cultivate anyway. Why don't you stay on the floor? Chu Feng said awkwardly as he looked at a Simmons bed that could just sleep 2 people. I don't want it. After Tang Shishir glanced at him, she popped herself onto the bed and then sat up in a sitting position. This directly let Chu Feng helpless up. Cannot run out to say to Mom, they do not with this future daughter-in-law in the same room it? They had just pushed them in to sleep, but they were all full of anticipation and couldn't wait to make a grandchild. In that case, half each is always fine, right? But only if you're not allowed to think anything of me. Chu Feng suddenly opened his mouth and sat on the other side of the bed. You think you're the meat and potatoes? Tang Shishir almost couldn't hold back her laughter as she listened to his words. This guy has skin thicker than a wall and he's honest enough to say that he's going to violate him? It's simply outrageous. Ask for recommendations. Ask for a reward. Request for monthly tickets. Big chapter in the evening. End of chapter. Chapter 31 Tang Shishir's first kiss, request for follow-up reading. Chapter 31 Tang Shishir's first kiss, request for follow-up reading. Ahem. Just kidding. Just keep practicing and pretend I don't exist. Chu Feng snickered, using a pillow to separate the two of them. It was said that heartless people slept quickly, and not 10 minutes after those words were said, Tang Shishir sensed Chu Feng's even breathing. Sometimes it's true that I can't see through you as a person. She slowly opened her eyes, turned her head to gaze at Chu Feng, and murmured softly, seeing that his entire body was scrunched up inside the comforter, only revealing a head. The corners of his mouth were slightly curled up, as if he was having some kind of beautiful dream. How about a visit to his dream? This thought appeared in Tang Shishir's heart. She was curious to know what this guy could be hiding inside. When the two of them had a powerful cultivation gap, it was naturally impossible for them to be discovered when they silently entered his dream. It was just that she thought of the fact that Chu Feng had at least been an immortal King Realm powerhouse at one time, and that the quenching of his soul was still very powerful. So how could she explain it in case it was discovered? After her thoughts intensely battled for a long time, Tang Shishir's red lips bit, and she directly cast a divine ability such as the dream peeping technique, and her consciousness dived into Chu Feng's dreamscape. She knew she was in when a new world appeared before her. What kind of dream is this? Looking around, Tang Shishir realized that she was in the middle of a busy street. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening, and there was an endless stream of pedestrians beside her. But the only thing she didn't see was Chu Feng, the dream maker. Tang Shishir was slightly confused. This guy was smiling so happily. It couldn't just be a scene of prosperity, could it? Just then, familiar figures walked past her, and it wasn't just Chu Feng. There was another. Herself? Tang Shishir was instantly enraged, because she had seen with her own eyes that the two of them, Chu Feng and herself in the dream world, were actually walking hand in hand, and still looked very sweet and happy. Asshole. No wonder this guy sleeps with such a lewd smile. It is said that the day has something, and the night has something, and he must not be spared at that time. However, at that moment, Tang Shishir did not chop this dream world into pieces, but rather wondered how she could possibly come together with Chu Feng. With this doubt, she followed the two men up. People come and go on the busy pedestrian street. The dreamy pair just walked along with smiles on their faces, not stopping until they were in front of a milk tea store, looking towards the view in the glass window. Honey, I'd like some milk tea, with red beans. Tang Shishir shook Chu Feng's arm and pouted at him in a gentle tone. True Tang Shishir, who was watching from a distance on the other side, completely collapsed after seeing this scene. Is that you? She would talk in that tone? You're going to pander to someone else? Even though she knew it was someone from a dream, the exact same face still made her feel uncomfortable. Just as she was about to break this dream, she suddenly heard Chu Feng in the distance suddenly say, It's better not to drink it. Lately you've been drinking milk tea every day. Wait, you're all getting fat. It's not cute. This scene made the real Tang Shishir even more angry. Although that person is not himself, but a cup of milk tea are not willing to buy? It was inevitably a bit stingy. Humph, do you not like me anymore because I'm fat? The man pouted and grunted. Ahem, not because of that of course. It's just that I have a special surprise for you today. Surprise? Chu Feng faked a cough and pulled her toward the distance. On the other side, the unknown Tang Shishir was baffled for a moment, and even curiously wanted to follow over to have a look.